In this lecture, we are going to work with confirmation dialogues. What we are going to do here is to create a confirmation dialog as in this picture. On that dialog, we will define a title and a number of radio buttons. Also, we will add two options, OK and Cancel, to our dialog. To start, I run Android Studio. I create a new project and click on Start a new Android Studio project. I name my project Confirmation Dialog. Next, I leave the minimum SDK to API 15 or Android 4 and next, empty activity and next, and finish. I wait until Android Studio creates my project. Our project was created successfully. Now inside the main activity class, I am going to define an object from the alert dialog class. Alert dialog space. I name my object, for example, dialog and semicolon. I also create an object from the alert dialog.builder class and I name my object builder. Note that in order to create a confirmation dialog, we must define an alert dialog, because a confirmation dialog is an alert dialog with some additional options added to it. Inside the onCreate method, I initialize my object. I type builder equals new alert dialog.builder. Inside the parentheses, I need to enter a context. I type main activity.this. You can also define a style for this confirmation dialog. For now, I leave it as is. Now I type builder.setTitle to give a title to my confirmation dialog. Inside double quotes, I enter my title text. For example, I type select the difficulty level. So far, we created an object from the alert dialog class and also an object from the alert dialog.builder class. And inside the onCreate method, we initialized our builder object. Now we must define the items on our alert dialog. I define a string array and name it items. Inside curly braces, I enter the titles for items on my confirmation dialog. For example, inside double quotes, I type easy as my first item's title. I place a comma, and then the next item, I type medium, and the next item is hard, and for the last item, I type very hard. So we defined the items of our confirmation dialog inside the items array. Now I return to onCreate and I type builder.setSingleChoiceItems. Inside the parentheses, this method requires a couple of arguments. The first parameter is a character string. So I pass it my items array. The next argument is checked item, which is an integer. In fact, this argument refers to the index of our dialog items. Note that in arrays, item indexes start from 0. For example, in this items array, the index for easy is 0, for medium it is 1, for hard it is 2, and for very hard it is 3. But for dialogs, this is not the case, and item indexes start from 1. So for checked item, I type -1. The next argument is onClickListener. For it, I type new onClickListener. And I terminate my statement with semicolon. Each time we click an item on our dialog, this method is executed. For now, we leave it this way. Once we defined a title for our dialog and added items to it, now it's time to display the dialog. So I type dialog equals builder.create and dialog.show. Now let's take a look at our project on the emulator. Alright, our application was successfully launched on the emulator. As you can see, so far we have created a confirmation dialog which has a title and 4 radio buttons and 4 items. We named our first item easy, the second one medium, the third hard, and the last one very hard. Each time I click an item, the code inside the onClick method is executed. You can enter your desired code inside the onClick method. Okay, let's stop the emulator. Note that we have an integer parameter named I inside this method. So I type system.out.println. This way I'm going to print out the value of the I parameter. Once again, I launched my project on the emulator. Once our application is running on the emulator, if I click an item on the confirmation dialog, the code inside the onClick method is executed and the position of that item is assigned to the I variable. For example, I'm going to select easy. You see that 0 was printed out in the Android monitor window. This means that the value of the I variable is 0, meaning that the first item, easy, has been selected from this list. Now I select medium. You see that 1 is printed out. And for hard, number 2, and for very hard, number 3. You can use conditional statements and the I variable to write your desired code inside the onClick method. Okay, I remove the system.out.println statement from my onClick method, and now I'm going to add 2 actions to my confirmation dialog. So once I define the items for my dialog, I type builder.setPositiveButton. As its first argument, I enter a string OK, and as its second argument, I define an onClick listener for it. and semicolon. Also, I define the negative button, set negative button. As its first argument, I enter cancel, and for its second argument, I type new on click listener. And semicolon. So we define two actions for our dialog. We set the text for our positive button to OK and the text for our negative button to cancel. We also defined an on-click event for each button. Now let's run our project on the emulator and check out the appearance of our confirmation dialog. Alright, our application is successfully running on the emulator. As you can see, two actions have been added to our confirmation dialog. Now I want to define a functionality for my confirmation dialog using on-click listeners. I want to implement a scenario in which when I select an item and click OK, my confirmation dialog is closed and the title of the selected item is displayed as a toast. I stop my emulator. The first thing we need to do is to define a string variable. So on top of the main activity class, I define my string. I name it result and I assign an empty string to it. Now I'm going to use my string variable inside the onClick method for set single choice items. I type result equals items I. This means that the value of result will be equal to the string value located at index I of our items array. Now I want my result string to be displayed as a toast when I click the OK button. So inside the onClick method for set positive button, I define a toast. I type toast.makeText. Inside the parentheses, I must enter a context. So I type getApplicationContext. The next argument is a text, for which I type result. And for its duration, I type length long. And .show. Now if I run my project on the emulator, whenever I select an item on my confirmation dialog, the title of that item will be assigned to result, and if I click the OK button, the value of result will be displayed as a toast. Okay, I run my project by clicking on the Run App button. Alright, our application was launched successfully on the emulator. As an example, I select Easy and click on the OK button. You see that a toast with the text Easy is displayed. I run my project once again on the emulator. This time I select Hard from the list and click on the OK button. As we expected, the text displayed by the toast is hard. You can also use other statements inside onClick methods. So, in this lecture, we created a confirmation dialog, we gave it a title, we added a couple of items and 2 actions to it, and also defined a functionality for our confirmation dialog. And that's it for this lecture. In the next lecture, we will customize our confirmation dialog and tweak its apparent characteristics.